Hello. I am so excited to go over this section. We're going to go over the last of the rays in this section where we're going over certain questions and their answers. What is the purpose of the soul and the origin, goal, and purpose of the soul. So we're wrapping it up with the seventh ray, rightfully so, the last of the rays. And the seventh ray is just so interesting to me. It really makes me feel like that might be one of my rays, like that, I don't, either the ray of my ego or the monad. I'm not so sure. I still got to learn more. But it always sends me down a very entertaining and fun rabbit hole. And I think that that's kind of what I've done as I've studied this section and what I'm going to probably take you down as well. If you are interested, then here we go. Let's go on this journey together.
To people in the taxi?
I don't think so.
You're managed by the company. And this surprised me. I only found this out. You're managed by the company. You look after S Club 7. You should look after the Spice Girls, Simon Fuller. Have they tried to mould you in any way, though, if people ask you to do things to change the way you look or speak or behave?
Yeah, one of them tried to mold me into a big triangle shape, and I went, no.
I'm going to start with sharing the what do you call it? The chart that we look at for this and move on from there. The chart is again of the 7 rays. I think it's going to be here. Yeah, so really quick, we're going to go over the main things that I look at from this chart. So again, we on the far left side, make sure it's showing this. The rays of aspect are the first 3 rays. First ray is the ray of will or power. The second is love, wisdom. Third is of mathematically exact activity. Together, these first 3 rays form the trinity or the triangle from which reflects out all of the other aspects or attributes that can be shown on the 7 ray types, the reflections of the father aspect, the son aspect, and the mother aspect. So these then act out the roles and the duties and the reflections of divinity, or reflect divine characteristics, as we talk about. These are the attributes, the rays of attributes. So other attributes of divinity outside of the Father, the Son, and the Mother, which are the creating forces of all that is the vehicle that sends pranic activity forward. 4th ray, beautifying, harmonizing through conflict. It's a vehicle for change. The 5th ray is the mind, the seat of the soul, the level of mental activity where we have harmony between our lower and our higher mind, where we access higher wisdom and also incorporate the wisdom of the realm of the earthly plane, the physical world. And the 6th ray is the driving impetus to produce form through a devotion or an ideal, something that we are committed to and represent, want to represent in our expression of divinity. And then the 7th ray, dun, 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 down here is the ray of ceremony and cyclic activity and materializing power. Its color, chakra, violet. It is liberated by the sacral chakra, the base of the spine, center, etheric energy, and very earthy energy because it is of the earth, the representation of this earthly plane. I'll read the description in the very center. Cyclic activity which brings form into manifestation, ritualized order of life, grounding of the will, which is again the first ray. That is the divine power of just pure source energy. It's the will to create something. And the 7th ray takes it full circle and grounds that will and causes form to manifest. It partners with that energy, which we'll cover in a second here. It's physical strength, it's perseverance to divine purpose, it's courage, endurance, proper care to detail, self-reliance, the practical, creative builder in all fields of life, the organizer, and magical endeavor. The negative qualities which we want to watch for if we are resonating on this ray type is being simply the occultist, just diving into the occult just for the sake of representing that egoic center of I know something you don't know, right? Which we'll see with a lot of the symbolism that we see in Hollywood and the people that take this negative aspect of seventh ray, the ray of magic and ceremony and ritual, and do dwell on this bottom section here. But going through it, it's also the negative trait is willful self-opinion, bigotry, prideful purpose, wrongly faceted mind, superficial judgments, obsession with the body form, sex magic. So this is all what culminates into kind of what we're seeing as the dark side of society right now, is showing that we are manifesting, we're bringing things into manifestation through the negative qualities of the seventh ray by the things that we ritualistically think, say, and do, and the energies that we're pumping into the ether, because this is the etheric realm that manifests on this earth. It brings it, the unseen into the seen by manifesting that will that is neither good or bad, but it's what the outcome is based on what cycles of activity we are materializing through. And on the other end of the spectrum, what can be so good about this, right, is that qualities that we need to develop if we want to see harmony and change is high esoteric idealism. So moving towards higher images of what could be realizing the unity consciousness of ourselves, others, broad-mindedness, opening our minds, being more tolerant, having more humility, and white magic, the exercise of conscious activity in order to manifest that which we do want and not being swept into that which we do not want. All right, that was a long-winded intro. Let's see where we are. 7 minutes in. All right, I think I'm going to jump over to the text on the publisher's website, see if it followed. One of the cool things that I did with this is I also incorporated my new handy dandy AI friend. So I love to search AI now. And I'll kind of show you how I did that as I read. So let me go to that screen and we will continue on from here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you're doing well or endeavoring to become so. Every day is a journey through that process. We all have good days, we all have bad days, and it's what we do with them that defines us and leaves our mark on this world, which we are all each here to do. I'm trying to see if I can make this a whole screen. Right. I'm not sure if it's big enough. Let's try that. I don't know. Well, let's check it out. All right. Here we go. The seventh purpose of deity. Ray 7, ceremonial order or magic. Again, each section of this part is described in 3 ways. The first is the old ancient teachings, so it's in a very symbol-rich text, and then we go into a study of the names that we can hear these rays referred to throughout other teachings, the Lord's, the names of the Lord, and they give us a more understanding or understanding or overstanding as we study the names of the ray type. Again, this is all just a journey in exploring which of the rays that we express, which color do we which color and expression of divinity do we shine forth into the world? And studying these rays, what are the names that it's been called by? What are the old stories of how it evolved into this reality? And what are the aphorisms? Finally, is the 6 aphorisms, which is the kind of stories or words that the brothers, the other 6 rays, use to describe the one ray that we're studying. And then it gives us the qualities that each of those other rays would describe as our qualities if we belong on this ray type. And as we study them, we will find what we resonate with, and then go further. That's just a starting point. So right now we're learning about, again, the purpose of deity through each of the 7 rays, because the divine is broken down, the idea itself, into these 7 ray types, which then further break down into all the different personalities and attributes that each and every one of us walk around as in our daily life. We study our psychology, we study our personality, we study our astrology, our birth chart, we study our the childhood that we had, our lineage, our parents, their health, their mental health, our mental health, all these things that culminate into our stuff and what we're going to do with it in this life. And is there a rhyme or reason to it? What is the purpose? This text tells us there is a purpose, and we are learning that in this study. So again, starting with the first way that it shares the information through the old teachings. Ceremonial order or magic. Excuse me. Let the temple of the Lord be built, the 7th great angel cried. Then to their places in the north, the south, the west, and east, 7 great sons of God moved with measured pace and took their seats. The work of building thus began. First visual I get from reading this is the 7 great angels, the 7 great bodies that create and send off energy, that do this building of creating life. I think of the planets. So how they move, the 7 great sons of God moved with measured pace, and they took their seats, and then they had to do this great work of building. So this is describing a process of building life on earth and manifesting that spark of divinity, which hopefully will translate as we read on. The doors were closed, the light shone dim, the temple walls could not be seen. The 7 were silent, and their forms were veiled. The time had not arrived for the breaking forth of light. The time had not arrived for the breaking forth of light. We speak of light as energy, as wisdom, knowledge, truth, as above, so below. So when we see the light shining forth, when the sun shines, it brings forth the new day, the new opportunity, and so does gaining information and wisdom and knowledge. So does technology and advancements and cooperation and collaboration and all of these things. These are light. That which is light brings forth more opportunities, more advancement. But there's a time for the breaking forth of light, which is very interesting that it says that here. The word could not be uttered. Only between the 7 forms the work went on. A silent call went forth from each to each. Yet still the temple door stayed shut. This is them working in silence, staying busy on their craft. The word had not been uttered. This is very biblical when we talk about, first let there be light, and then doing the work, and the first word is uttered, and that's how the creative work or the creation of this existence, this realm, comes forth. And I think that's kind of what's being described here similarly. As time went on, the sounds of life were heard. So as time went on, the sounds of life were heard, were created. The door was opened, and the door was shut. Each time it opened, the power within the temple grew. Each time the light waxed stronger, for one by one the sons of men entered the temple, passed from north to south, from east to west, And in the center of the heart found light, found understanding, and the power to work. Now that's very symbol rich, right? I get a visual when I hear it say it passed from north to south. What is the symbol I see? I see when people do north to south and east to west. That's the cross, crossing the heart. It's saying in the center, which is in the center of that motion, that gesture, the heart found light, found understanding, and the power to work. So no matter which direction we're coming from, if we go to the center, we'll find the light, the understanding, and the power to work. How interesting. They entered through the door, they passed before the seven, they raised the temple's veil and entered into life. So this is now talking about the forms that were built. So if that's the people, time went out, sounds of life were heard, the life of the animals, the life of the people that were created. They passed before the seven that created them, the creators, and raised the temple's veil and entered into life. So the magical thing that we've been working on was created. As above, so below, like all these little robots that humans are creating and behind closed doors in their laboratories, and then when they're ready to reveal them, and the robot makes its first sound and it goes into living and it's existing. It now has gone from no thing to becoming a thing, and then it's entered into life. The veil has been removed on this thing that was created, and so now we see what cycles come forth from that action, that practice, that creative work that was done behind closed doors. In the very beginning, it tells this story. The temple grew in beauty. Its lines, its walls, its decorations, and its height and depth and breadth slowly emerged and entered into light. Again with these directions here. Out from the east, the word went forth. Open the door to all the sons of men who come from all the darkened valleys of the land and seek the temple of the Lord. What we learned in the esoteric studies, the temple of God, the temple of the Lord is within us. So if we really seek the temple of the Lord, we really seek to understand the energy that was lowered, Lowerd, lowered, which is what I hear every time I hear the word Lord, the lowered energy from the divine into the self. We learn about the Lord of our temple, what energy has been imbued down into me, this vessel for me to animate and express. Give them the light. Who do we give the light to? Those who seek the temple of the Lord, those who seek to know themselves. Unveil the inner shrine, and through the work of all the craftsmen of the Lord, extend the temple's walls and thus irradiate the world. Irradiate, defined. I think it's so funny how words have been kind of convoluted and distorted to mean something so different. So let's look at the second verb. To irradiate something is to illuminate by, or as if by shining light on it. New definition is to expose to radiation. This is the human outcome, but really what we're talking about here is the origins. We're going to illuminate the world by shining light on it. Sound forth the word creative and raise the dead to life. Raising the dead to life, this is also symbol rich. We're also we usually talk about like awakening, the act of awakening for conscious people. What is that? What is woke? I watched a really cool ad, like the only ad I've ever watched through on YouTube was for I think it's the Purdue University, where they have all these like alternate viewpoints that they go out and study, and it was this girl that was investigating wokeness and what it really was and how it was infiltrated and all these things, which take the actual concept of awakening and consciousness and the flow and the flood of people that are trying to do it, and they undercut it with these distortions of what the purpose really is. So the esoteric, the understanding of awakening is, if you look at it visually, when I'm asleep versus when I'm awake, what's the main difference right here? My eyes are open. So now that I'm awake, I have open eyes, eyes to see. You hear that term a lot through the occult studies too, is the ears, the eyes to see and the ears to hear. It's in the Bible several times as well. Give me the eyes to see and the ears to hear. Raising the dead to life, the same difference when you're dead versus when you're alive. It's a symbolic of awakening, where we can be in our life, in our everyday life, asleep. Like the Matrix, you're asleep until you're awakened to the inner truths or the inner realities, or when you seek the temple of the Lord and you are given the light. That's why it's esoteric, because it is not widely known by the majority. It is reserved for an exclusive few, is the idea, was the idea. Now we're sharing it with everybody, right? It's everybody's business. It's everybody's business now. So, thus shall the temple, that's how I see it, thus shall the temple of the light be carried from heaven to earth. So here we get our goal. The purpose of this ray is to take the temple of the light and carry it from heaven to earth. So heaven on earth is here and now, and the temple of God is in us. So this is the demonstration of as above, so below. I can be an expression of divinity. I can show how heavenly things can exist on the earthly plane, or the opposite can be true. If I'm acting from the negative traits from the chart that we looked at, the negative traits that we want to avoid, these things, it could be obsession with the body form, sex magic, wrongly faceted minds, superficial judgments, bigotry, pridefulness, purpose, all this stuff. All these things that are not representative of divinity, right? So it's anti-divine, anti-divinity, you could say. So this is not what we are here to create. What we are here to create in the esoteric teachings is a world where heaven on earth can exist. And how is that done? That's done through study and knowledge of self, seeking the temple of the Lord energy that you have access to. And whichever way we come about that wisdom and that awakening is going to determine which laws of nature that we serve. And that'll come to play with more of the symbolism that I show in a second with basically what I've gathered is from people who are awakened through that anti-divinity, I guess you could say. Look at Hollywood, we'll look at politicians, those kinds of things, the symbols that they show to demonstrate, hey, I'm part of this group, I'm part of this club, I have this knowledge, I was illuminated, but which way? And which way do I have to serve now? Which way do I have to express? Am I expressing the creative energy or the destructive energy? And on we go. Thus shall the temple of the light be carried from heaven to earth. Thus shall its walls be reared upon the great plains of the world of men. Thus shall the light reveal and nurture all the dreams of men. Then shall the master in the east awaken those who are asleep. Here's that symbolism again. The master in the east will awaken those who are asleep. Then shall the warden in the west test and try all the true seekers after light. You will be awoken from your sleep. You will be tested as a true seeker of light and knowledge and wisdom. Then shall the warden in the south instruct and aid the blind. Again, this visuals of seeing and eyes and seeing, awake and asleep, seekers after light. All this is very much about eyes and illumination and light. vision, the eyes to see. Then shall the gate into the north remain wide open, for there the unseen master stands with welcoming hand and understanding heart to lead the pilgrims to the east, where the true light shines forth. And this is all very interesting. So I was like, all this stuff about the east, and I just was like looking at the east, and this is where my robo buddy comes in play. Like, I look at the, what do you call it, the AI search engines. Let's check this out. I think this comes in a later part too, but on your search engines now, they have this chat feature. Google, Microsoft Edge, I like Edge. So I just type in, what is meant by the watcher in the east? And it gives me this explanation, which is so funny because it gives exactly the strengths and the limitation of this device right here, right? Because it gives us first this esoteric and possible more ancient information version of it, and then it gives us something from a show on Netflix. So something to keep in mind when we deal with the AI. Let's keep reading. I think I'm gonna switch the screen back. All right, let's finish this up. Why this opening of the temple demand the greater seven? Because the work is ready. The craftsmen are prepared. God has created in the light. His sons can now create. What can else be done? Not, came forth the answer from the greater seven. Let the work proceed. Let the sons of God create. So again, what was our purpose to be created in the form of the divine, if not but to create something of our own? And what do we do with that? And this could be purpose of humanity, of existence, of things like that. And so we are to bear witness to that which we have created, to analyze it, to study it, and to approve or deny it, and to embrace or reject it. And that's our part of our right, for walking this plane. We don't just have to blindly accept and observe. Blind, there's that again. We are to give our I can't think of the right word right now, but basically to give our judgment, while not being judgmental, to give our judgment of the unfolding of the decisions that we're making, the cycles that we're repeating, the cyclic activity, the rituals that we're doing. So this is all seventh ray. That's why I get excited about this, because this is how my mind works. Is like, what are the actions that we're taking and what are the results that we're getting? And do I like those results? No. Then I might change them. So this is like the scientific method and all that stuff too. Like, it's an experiment. What is the human experience going to be if we follow down this path? This, destruction, more life. Do we want heaven on earth? Yes. So what are the things that we have to do to get there? And so I think that this is fascinating because it gives us that ownership in that process and that unfolding. And as long as we awaken to that, then we can make more informed decisions and participate in the creation of the future, I think is the main thing, or the purpose. Again, that's what we're studying, the purpose of this all. So, again, the greater seven, the creators said, why are we opening the temple? Why are we letting this go? Why are we opening this up to everyone? It's like, well, God created in the light. And so now they can create. What else is there to do? We're going to let this happen. Let the work proceed. Let the sons of God create. These words will be noted by many as of deep significance and as indicating a wide intention during the coming cycle to open the door wide into the temple of the hidden mystery to man. Open the door wide. So now we're giving everybody the tools to create, to manifest, and to bring into existence form based on our thoughts, our feelings, our creative power. Like, we're actually going to let them manifest the story and where it goes from here. One by one, we shall undergo the esoteric and spiritual counterpart of the psychological factor, which is called a mental test. That test will demonstrate a man's usefulness in mental work and power. It will show his capacity to build thought forms and to vitalize them. And again, she says right here, this I dealt with in a treatise on white magic. And in relation to that treatise, to the magical work of the seventh ray and its cycle of activity will become increasingly apparent. A treatise on white magic is an attempt to lay down the rules for training and for the work which will make it possible for the candidate to the mysteries to enter the temple and to take his place as a creative worker and thus aid in the magical work of the Lord of the temple. But what does that say? Magic is the act of taking a thought and a feeling and a word and creating a thought form and energizing it with the will, the creative power that is the divine spark that animates all things, and manifesting a thing into creation. Whatever that thing is, infinite possibilities. But the thing that you were meant to create specifically comes from your ray type and all of the other makeups of the things that we talked about before, psychology. And the mental test that we're seeing is now the spiritual counterpart of a psychological factor of a mental test is what are you going to build with all the different unique things, ingredients that created who you are? What are you going to add to this situation? And this says that those who are candidates to the mysteries enter into the temple and learn how to do the training of the work, which is to actually consciously build thought forms and to consciously learn that which we're meant to create and share, and do it in a very organized way, cycle of activity. Seventh ray is cyclic activity, like the scientific process, because you're using the intelligent energy mixed with the divine spark in order to manifest into existence. And there's a certain way to do it. When you're awake, you actively participate in the creative process. When you're asleep, you receive and kind of just automate things in a robotic way. And you're not really a willing and active participant in the creative work. But that can change. And then when you look around, you'll see that there are others who are trying to demonstrate, hey, I'm actively molding and shaping this world, and what do you think about it? Again, that's what we analyze when we see these big culture shifts and things like Hollywood, and they're sharing their symbols, which we'll look at in a second. And again, it does have a lot to do with these metaphors and these symbols of eyes and seeing and eyes and seeing and light and all this stuff. Because in the past, it was these secret groups that hid the light. They hid the information, right? They hid the knowledge and they used it for themselves. So what does that mean? You can recognize the use of that by them growing in power, growing in wealth, growing in control. And so that light being hidden and used to create a cycle that benefits the few in their growth to power and yada, 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 is what we're seeing. And so now the others that are becoming woke, the point of that was so that you can take back that control and balance it out, because we are in an imbalance and it's to make it balanced. But it's not to take that and say, oh no, I selfishly now want to take down and be malicious and go against. It's not angry, it's not angst energy, and it's not destructive, it's not more destructive energy, it's not more chaos, it's not more hate, it's not more misunderstanding. So that's why it's like that video was cool, because it talked about the infiltration of wokeness. This is like they talk about the infiltration of the psyops in spiritual communities as well, to make it more about division and like tarot community, all about like, oh, these, like these storylines and these narratives that are very toxic and not helpful. We have to turn our eyes to true seekers of the light, wisdom, and asking for more knowledge of self. The answer is not out here. The answer is within the temple. And the treatise on white magic teaches us the training to do conscious mental work to manifest power in a way that is not controlled by outside forces. Here's the section where we study the names. Let me make sure I'm still recording. The names whereby this Ray Lord is known are many, and their meaning is of prime significance today. The work of the future can be seen from a study of these names. The unveiled magician. I love this because that's the concept, right? Is the concept is that we have all these magicians around us, all these people that are doing this. Let me just give you a sneak peek at some of the magicians that we have around us. Who are the magicians? Here's some of the magicians that we have around us. These people are cooking up interesting things. They're manifesting, they're shifting consciousness, and they're driving the world around us. These are magicians. But, oops, look at that later. In this stage, we're going to unveil. So black magic, dark magic is a hidden hand. Hidden hand is a dark magician. The unveiled magician, the white magician, is in plain sight. I can create, I can manifest, I can use the symbols, I can attain the knowledge, I can hold the light, I can reflect the light, and I don't have to be hidden as I do it. Because I stand behind, I stand on top of my actions, and my intention is to manifest heaven on earth. So what is there to hide, right? So that's the difference, and that's the energy that we learn through the study of these names, which is interesting. That one for me was the most resonant. The unveiled magician is the seventh ray. Lord, the Lord, again, the Lord energy. The Lord of the seventh ray is someone who sits on the seventh ray, embodies the lowered energy of one who can perform magical arts for the purpose of manifesting heaven on earth. The Lord of the first ray is the one who can embody the energy that lowers down the Lord energy of the divine will, which is the will or power to either create or destroy. It's pure, powerful, potent energy. And you embody that and you express it because you sit on that ray type. Second ray is the Lord energy. That's why the representative is Jesus, the Lord energy of love and wisdom. The second ray, you lower down the energy of infinite love and kindness and wisdom through seeing what love can manifest, and you express that lowered energy. So you are the Lord of that energy. Hope that makes sense. The creator of the form, the bestower of light from the second Lord. And I was looking at this for a second too, and I looked it up and I was like, what does it mean by second Lord? There wasn't really a definition here, so I went to the search. And it was interesting that this guy came up, and I watched some of his videos. He's really good. This is I watched him in the past. This guy is a Eastern astrologer, so he goes about the Vedic astrology. So it's good to know both Western and Vedic. So it's like East and West. Like it talks about the study, the North and the South, the East and the West. The full journey is to have all wisdom, all truth, all knowing, and to pull it together into a oneness and a unity that we can understand, that we can manifest from. Not to say I reject this and I separate myself from that and I close myself to this. It's not about the eyes that can't see and the ears that can't hear anything, because you're not filtering in. What you have to do is open yourself to the channels and trust the divine to help you sift through and make the right decisions on which way you go, right? So anyways, he talks about the second Lord in astrology, in terms of astrology, and I was like, oh, okay, I can understand that. Second Lord would be the second house, which is second house on the wheel of the 12 is Taurus energy. And so he starts talking about the second Lord being the Lord of energy of what we value, the Lord energy that controls that which we deem valuable, and that is Taurus energy. part of it. But then I came back to the teachings. Let me go back here, close this off. I wonder if that's even showing on the side there. Yeah. All right, I think I'm frozen. I'll wait for it to catch up. But the second Lord in this terms is talking about the second Lord of the 7 rays. Uh-oh, did I lose all my pages? Let me go back to full screen real quick while I try to open this back up. Restore. Okay, cool. It's doing it. So yeah, the second Lord would be the second Lord of the second ray. So that's again the Lord of loving wisdom. So when he's talking about that in these terms, it's a little bit different. All right, let me go back to that screen and keep it moving. So the 7th ray is the bestower of light from the second Lord, which is the Lord of loving wisdom, which we get from where? Sorry, I'm clicking around so much in this one, but I have like infinite energy to describe the 7th ray. I love it so much. So the second ray of love wisdom. So this is the sun aspect. So this is the spirit that combines the father energy and the mother energy to create the form. The sun is the loving expression of that energy. Oh, you know what? KH is right here. I misspoke. They speak of Jesus being the representative of the second ray, love, wisdom, but in terms of the masters, it's the master. Jesus is the master of the 6th ray, which we covered in the last video, because this is the ray of devotion and energy. Did I cover what I wanted to say on this chart? I think so. Yes. Oh, second ray. So the Lord of the second ray is the Lord of, this is what it's talking about in that respect. Oh my gosh, I'm about to have a BF. This is like really getting annoying. Too much merch. There we go. Back to this, and I'll wrap it up. Where are we on time? 40 minutes already. Continuing on. The manipulator of the wand, the watcher in the east, and this is what I looked up in that AI chat over there. I'll read that too. The custodian of the 7th plan, the invoker of wrath, the keeper of the magical word, the temple guardian, the representative of God, the one who lifts to life. Again, lifts to life. And it's also the Lord of death, because he lowered that energy to understand what is animate and what is inanimate, and you can awaken people. And the tarot card for death, it means transformation. It's not necessarily always just the physical death. We talk about, we have death and rebirth every single day. It's in our cyclical activity of sleeping. When you sleep and you wake up, it's a replenishing. Your body is re-energized and brought forth different information from your work in the dream state, in the dream world. So that Lord of transformation and moving through cycles of life and death and bringing things into an awakened state. This ray controls that energy, or represents rather that energy which the divine controls, and it expresses that as its chief aim in manifestation. The one who feeds the sacred fire, the whirling sphere, the sword of the initiator. And sword, again, if you're talking about tarot, the sword is the suit of the intellect, the air, the words. These are the words that initiate and spark awakening as well. The divine alchemical worker. The work of the alchemist is to change one thing into another thing, change the sleep into the awakened, lead into gold, things like, or whatever. So, moving on. Again, you're supposed to study each of these names and gain whatever resonance you get from studying the names of each of these sections for all 6 rays, to get an idea of which ray type you might resonate mostly with. The divine alchemical worker, the builder of the square, the orienting force, the fiery unifier, the key to the mystery, the expression of the will, and the revealer of the beauty. Before we go into the aphorisms, I'm going to go back right here really quickly to where it said the watcher in the east. Look for that definition in that Google chat. So I said, what is meant by, oh, it's not up anymore. Let's check it out. Ew, it closed. Search for it again. Okay, so what is meant by the watcher in the east? The phrase "the watcher in the east" has different meanings depending on the context. One possible meaning is that it refers to Aldebaran, a bright red star in the constellation of Taurus. And so it's talking about this Taurus energy, which was interesting. It's also known as Tashater. Right here. Aldebaran was considered to be the watcher of the Pleiades, also very interesting, a star cluster associated with rain and tears. Aldebaran was also the equinox star around 3000 BC, meaning that it rose with the sun at the spring equinox. Aldebaran is also linked to Michael the Archangel, so Archangel Michael, the protector and leader of the angels, who is often depicted with a sword and a shield. And then it just hilariously goes into this next one, which says another possible meaning is that it refers to a Netflix series called The Watcher, which is based on a true story of a family who moved into a house in Westfield, New Jersey, and received creepy letters from someone calling themselves The Watcher. The series has attracted many curious visitors to the neighborhood, much to the annoyance of the residents. The series did not film at the actual house, but used a different location in New York. I hope this answers your question. Do you have any other questions? So I strongly encourage you to play with these ChatGPT and these AI chat things and just go wild with questions. It's very, very interesting. And these are sources to the websites and things if you want to go further than just interacting with the AI chat. And I did watch this series on Netflix as well, and it is quite interesting because the story veers from it, but there is some things that you need to pay attention to when you talk about the different tunnels that are under, oh, spoiler alert,